Okay, I want to talk about movable chords, and we'll get into the caged format here. And this is kind of difficult. Some of you won't be able to bar a chord yet, but I'll talk about shortened chords in just a second so you'll understand you don't have to play the whole bar. You don't have to play all 6 strings to make a movable chord. First of all, there are only 5 forms to play a major chord. Here's a C major chord. That's my 3rd finger, 2nd finger, 1st finger. Here's an A major chord, and whether I fret it with my 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, or my 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, or whether I do my 2nd and 3rd here and squeeze my 1st back there, which some people do in order to get to an A minor in a hurry, or whether I hold 2 strings with this finger and 1 string with that finger, I've got an A chord that I can get to an A minor. Your guitar doesn't care. Your guitar does not care what fingers are holding the fret. What matters is what the relationship of the frets are to each other. So whether I play my C chord with these fingers or these fingers, it's still a C chord. So I've got C, A, G, E, and D. And that spells caged. C, A, G, E, D. Now that's not a musical pattern. That's a pattern that occurs on the guitar. And some of you out there that have learned a few chords in your book are already saying, what about F? What about B flat? Okay, here's my E chord. If I could scoot my E chord up 1 fret, now remember we talked about going up 1 fret from an open E to an F, that's 1 fret up. So if I take an E chord and move the whole chord up 1 fret, I've got an F, but those open strings didn't come with it. So I would have to play my E chord with these fingers and bar that. Now I've got an F. An F chord is an E chord scooted up 1 fret. And the beginner F chord, the one that most of you in the beginning learn, is what we call a shortened chord. We're not playing all 6 strings. If we did, I could scoot that over, put that finger there. Now I've got more of an F chord, reach around with my thumb, and I've got a complete F chord. Now you can see that an E chord scooted up 1 fret is an F chord. A B flat chord, which many people play like this, is an A chord scooted up 1 fret. Now that's a shortened chord that does not have the root. We don't have the B flat down here in the root. This low string isn't being used. I prefer to teach my students this B flat chord. Put your 1st finger on the A string, and you can either mute the high E or try and lay your finger down at the other end. And now you can hear that note and that note, but I don't have to lay the finger flat. A lot of people, when they try to play a bar chord, lay their finger flat and then try to get the other 3. Well, if I did that, I could hardly do it either because that's awkward. Lay the 3 fingers down first, then do the bar. And if your finger curves, that's okay. The note we really want is the one in the root. And then when your finger gets stronger, and you can do the whole bar. Now, a lot of people don't use all 3 fingers like this. I grab 2 strings under that finger, 1 string under that finger, and I find it easier to get the bar. So we got C form, and now if we take this A form, scoot it up 3 frets, we have a C chord again. This is an A form C chord. So the C chord occurs here. The next place on the neck that the C chord occurs is with an A form at the 3rd fret. And you'll notice that my 1st finger is on the same fret that my 3rd finger was on. There's the C. That's the root. There's that C. There's a C chord. The next place the C chord occurs is if I use the root down here. Now that's my shortened G form. Here's a complete G form. Okay, but that's kind of hard to do, so I usually shorten my G form. I play the root, the 3rd, I bar these 3 strings, and I mute the high E string. And people say, well, that's not the complete chord. It's just as complete as this C chord. Listen to this C chord, 1 note at a time. Now listen to this G form C chord at the 5th position. Same notes. Okay, so we got C form, A form, G form, E form, D form. Now this one you don't bar, you just have to hold 4 strings. It's already a shortened chord. I'm playing that one, I've got my D form there, and I'm putting the root here, and I'm not using the others. That's why we call it caged. C, A, G, E, D. Okay, now, why learn that?